Meanwhile, Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari has confirmed he will be seeking a second term when the country goes to the polls next year. It ends months of speculation about whether he would stand for re-election. Buhari is 74 years old and there have been some concerns about his health, but the presidency insists he is well. The announcement comes amid growing uncertainty within the ruling All Progressives Congress. Buhari came to power in 2015. His administration has had to deal with a series of challenges, including a recession and ongoing militant attacks by Boko Haram. Well, let's get you more now on that story. We're joined live from Lagos by our correspondent, Deji Badmus. Deji, indeed, months of speculation ahead of this announcement. But what can you tell us about Muhammadu Buhari deciding to make it official that he will indeed contest next year's election?
Well, Lindy, what I can tell you is that everybody had been expecting him to make this declaration. It's not a surprise at all. Everybody had always known that the president was going to seek re-election. He was always in the public domain. What everybody had been waiting for is this official confirmation that has now come. The president, of course, telling the National Executive Council of his party that he would be running. Of course, the declaration was not made public, so to speak. This declaration was made to just the National Executive Council at a closed-door meeting. So the expectation is that in the coming days, the president would probably address the media, probably do a national broadcast now where he would give reasons why he wants to run again. But it's not in any way a surprise at all. Everyone had expected this, and it has now happened.
So not a surprise at all, but I wonder how people feel about him and the chances of him actually winning another election. The UN's assessment of the country's security situation is not particularly positive. There's been a recession that he's had to deal with. Does he essentially remain popular in the country?
Well, first thing I must tell you, Lindy, is that President Buhari does not have that enormous goodwill he had back in 2015 when he ran for election and won. I mean, that goodwill is not there. But the fact is that he still remains the candidate to beat. He remains the candidate to beat for several reasons. And one of the reasons would be because the presidency, the major political parties in this country have zoned the presidency to the north of the country. So it means the next president of the country would obviously come from the north. And you look at the candidates coming out now from the north, you just cannot point to any that has the kind of cult-like following now that President Buhari has. There's no question at all that none of the candidates we have seen so far, and those that have been speculated to be coming out, none of them has the kind of followership he has. So he still remains a candidate to beat. And, you know, of course, you're right. In terms of security, there are still challenges, but the government will tell you that it has done enormously well. It's been able to beat back Boko Haram, that Boko Haram is no longer the force it used to be. Of course, there are other security challenges other than Boko Haram. For instance, you have the headers, farmers crisis. The government says it is tackling that. It's been able to get the country out of recession. The economy is growing, even though that is slowly. But you look at the political field today, if there's one politician who still has that following, despite the fact that he's lost some goodwill, it is still Buhari. Everyone believes that he will sweep the polls in the north of the country, and that in the south of the country, where he has not always been very popular, that certain things may work in his favor, because the south of the country, for instance, would want the presidency to come from the south, and the best chance the South has got now to get the presidency to the South, say in the year 2023, would be through Buhari, because Buhari would just be able, if he won the next election, he would do another 4 years. But if you have another person from the North, for instance, who wins that election, that individual may do another 8 years. So you may have power now remaining in the North for more than 8 years. So these are the permutations. These are the political permutations that people are looking at. Even the president knows that somehow the stars are aligning for him, and that even in places where he is not popular, say the southeast of the country, where he is not popular, the people there might just decide to vote for him because they know he represents the best chance they have, for instance, to get a president from the southeast of the country. So you look at all of this, and you look at the fact that his integrity is still intact. A lot of people will tell you that he's the candidate to beat. And to be candid, looking at the field, the political field at the moment, looking at those who are planning to come out, I can tell you, Lindy, that for me, I think he remains the candidate to beat.
All right. Well, there you have it. Deji Bedmus live with us there from Lagos, Nigeria, of course, on the fact that President Buhari remains the man to beat in the country's upcoming elections.